My father arrived in the United States in the fashion of so many who came before, and so many who would follow. He came in search of opportunity and found it after passing through the sober and hopeful halls of Ellis Island. He was one of 1,800 third-class passengers aboard the Providence, which landed on October 25, 1921. He declared his profession as, quote, peasant, unquote, and his total assets as $25. He was en route to join his older brother Bruno, then in Sheridan, Wyoming. My father was the youngest of 13 siblings. His name was Carmelo Panetta, and he was 23 years old. He first left home during World War I, when he was drafted into the Italian Army. He was wounded during the Battle of the Piave River in 1918, an important Italian victory. He rarely talked about that experience, for my father was a quiet man, resolute and hard-working, devoted to values that some might find quaint: family, duty, faith. He did not lecture on those ideas, but he lived them. He also was a very good cook. After working briefly in New York and Wyoming, he joined the sibling to whom he was closest, his rambunctious brother Tony, in California, and found a job as a cook. Like so many immigrants before and since, he took jobs wherever he could. He worked in Huntington Beach, south of Los Angeles, and Marin County, north of San Francisco, making a decent living but finding himself lonely in his adopted country. He was past his 30th birthday, and his vision of himself as a husband and father was missing a few pieces. Though my father had been in the United States for nearly a decade by then, his search for a bride turned him toward home. He knew where to look for a nice Italian girl. In 1932, he sailed for Italy. He found my mother in church. Family lore is a little murky on the details, but clear on the basics. Having returned to Calabria at the toe of the boot of Italy, my father ventured down the mountains from his native Geraci to the slightly more prosperous coastal village of Siderno. There he stood at the back of the church one Sunday and spotted a tall, dark-haired, attractive young woman. He made inquiries and discovered that the lovely 18-year-old Carmelina, who had caught his eye, was the daughter of Giuseppe Procillo, a local member of the Merchant Marine. Inquiries were made, and at least one obstacle overcome. My nonna initially objected to the union, preferring instead that my father be married to Carmelina's older sister, who wasn't getting any younger. She also objected to my father's plans to bring his new bride to America, and thus away from her family. But my father persisted. He wanted the girl he had seen in church, and eventually, and with the help of my nonno, he prevailed. Perseverance was one of his strongest traits. Now wed, Carmelo returned to the United States with his young bride and retraced his steps. They arrived in New York, where Carmelo had bought a small piece of property, but elected to move on, heading again for Wyoming and his brother Bruno. Bruno was a hard worker and had a big family. His 3 sons proudly served in World War II and later ran a successful food wholesale business. It was there in Sheridan in 1933 that my mother gave birth to my brother Joe. But both the harsh winters and the tough economic times were hard on my parents. They did not stay long. Seeking better weather and opportunity, they pushed forward to California, where they rejoined Tony. This time, the young couple, with their infant son, eventually landed in Monterey.